Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Where No Pod Has Gone Before. I'm your host, Julian,
And I'm your co host, Titan.
and today we're going to be discussing a classic of the genre. That is Akira from 1988, as directed by Katsuhiro Otomo, based on his own long running manga series that spanned 6 volumes, 2,000 pages or so. And
Have you read any of it?
I've read 4 out of 6 of them. I've got them all on my
Oh, no
shelf.
ways. Yeah, I
Um,
remember you had a whole lot of manga on your shelf. Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
Um, the thing is, I quite like to read graphic stuff when I'm watching baseball because there's something about like baseball is a sport where you can just look down and do something else and then look up, see
Right.
a
Yeah.
pitch,
It's, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's easier to do with like graphic stuff, I think.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
right now, there's no baseball on, so I just haven't read it in a while. um,
Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
but hugely influential series. Kind of kickstarted the huge boom in Japanese cyberpunk.
Mm.
Um, so you get things like Ghost in the Shell, Battle Angel, Alita, Cowboy Bebop, all these iconic things, and it really kind of starts with Akira, specifically the
Okay.
manga. Um, but yeah, the movie comes out, and this is a huge success in Japan, but it's also the big breakthrough anime film in the West.
Okay.
So it really points people to anime as um, a medium, a style of note, something to take note of, and open the door for like Dragon Ball and things and Pokemon to take
Right.
over in the '90s,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, like I said, this is a staple of the kind of cyberpunk subgenre, and just to kind of clear that up, cyberpunk is marked by dystopian futures, but like really high level technology, but low
Yeah.
level of living and lifestyle, and often the merging of humanity and technology. So like technological augmentations to the body
Mm.
and
Mm.
things like that. That really marks.
Yeah, and this was also sort of quite a, I don't know if gritty is the right word, but sort of messy and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
quite
That's
decayed cyberpunk. The other ones where it's sort of a little bit more glossed over, but this one was
yeah.
really sort of very dirty and
Yeah,
and
this is.
and
It
stuff.
feels like the kind of end stage of
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
economic cycle this is, or something like that, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and yeah, I mean, hold on to that thought, I guess, on end stages of economics, because we'll come back to that. But um, yeah, like always, I think it's fun to start with a little backstory on relationships with the film. So for me, this viewing for the pod was my fourth time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, nothing really extraordinary about this viewing. My third viewing was in a cinema, um,
Oh, nice. All right.
and I was like right like front row, so just like completely an overwhelming like
Yeah.
audiovisual experience. Um, but yeah, I remember being blown away by this film, and then when I went back to rewatch it, I was like, "Oh, Akira's so good! I'm going to rewatch it." And I was like, I actually don't remember what happens in the film
Oh,
that much,
yeah.
and I think that kind of is a like marks all my viewings with this film. It's like this is a major like experiential movie for me. It's the
Right.
moment to moment
Yeah.
watchability. It's the visuals, specifically the visuals. The animation is incredible. The
The
colors,
animation was beautiful. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
the music is
Especially, I really love the background animation.
yes,
Like
yes,
the backdrops and the cityscapes and
yeah,
everything. That was absolutely gorgeous.
yeah. I have a few things to say about that as
All
well.
right.
Yeah, also the music is completely like strange and unusual
Mm,
for a film
mm,
like this, but totally works. Um, and I think like it pains me to make lists and stuff of favorites, but this is right
mm.
up there for animated films for me.
Okay.
Challenging the top spot, I would say. And I believe this was your first time watching this,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
let's get a
So I
gut
mean,
reaction.
yeah. So the thing is, I'm not really an anime fan at all, right? I mean, I've watched a handful of animes here and there, but other than that, I'm not really an anime fan. So I must say it was a little bit sort of. It took me a while to get into it. I would say I was
Hmm.
sort of halfway through the film, and I was still sort of like, okay, yeah, it's cool and everything, but like not that great. It's sort of it, but I was realizing that okay, this is just something I'm not really into. So like, let me give it a chance. And obviously, the one thing I asked you for is I said I have to have an English audio track, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I know that any anime fans listening are going to be like, no, you can't watch anime in English. But I said no, okay, come on, I have to at least start like that. But what I committed to is I said, okay, I'm going to switch between them, right? Like when there's a lot of heavy dialogue, I'm going to go to English. But then if there are scenes where it doesn't really matter so much, I will switch into the Japanese version. And I must say, I completely understand what anime fans are talking about when they come with that, because, I mean, not only firstly, you mentioned the music already.
yes,
In the English audio track, the music is softer. It's sort of a little bit duller and in the background. And I realized that there's probably scenes which I'd watched in English and hadn't quite gotten that full experience with the
yeah,
music, because like it was sort of like the soft background music, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a strange choice. But suddenly in the Japanese version, like it was like much more intense, and you sort of get a more visceral experience, I think. And
yes,
then obviously there's just the voice actors and the way that they do things and everything. So it was for me, it was quite a mixed experience. I'm still sort of I've thought about the film a little bit after finishing it, and it's I think it's sort of grown on me a little bit. I'll probably watch it again at some stage, and with the first viewing is always sort of like, okay, let's see what this is about. Is it
yeah.
is
What
it good or
happens?
not? Right?
Yeah,
Exactly. So the second one, I think I'll sort of give it a little bit more of a chance. Probably try and watch the whole thing in Japanese if I can. But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of cyberpunk. I think I did really enjoy the visuals. I mean, from the beginning, I was like, "Whoa, okay, this is
yeah,
beautiful." Um, so yeah, it's something which I'm not very versed in anime, but I think as far as anime goes, I think this was a quite a good place to start. I would say.
yeah. I mean, but that was really the kind of starting point for the
Right.
West.
Yeah.
Before it explodes in the 90s. Um, I'm going to do a little thing I'm calling segue hunting, right? I'm going to
Okay.
try to get you to say the thing so I can transition into my next point. But like, do you have any adjectives that you might use to describe this film? Let's see. Let's see if we get there.
Adjectives. Hmm. No, not really.
uh,
I suppose. Yeah, no, not really. The only sort of feeling that I think I felt while watching it is a sort of sense of chaos, a little bit sort of being lost in a system which is more chaotic than you realize, and sort of bigger and more um, intertwined. But I can see that's not
yeah,
exactly the
that's
adjective
not
you
what I'm
were
looking
looking
for.
for.
I was thinking of more anything to do with like scale, like epic or grand or things like that,
Okay,
which um, they're not words that you would usually associate
right.
with animation, right?
Yeah.
You would think of like Lawrence of Arabia or Dune or something or like, Star Wars, like something big in
Oh, I see
scope.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but there are um, some technical trivia I have
Okay,
that put in perspective that this is actually a massive film in kind of technical scope. Um, so I've got some figures which let's say maybe not so accurate, but I saw them on different sources when I was doing some research, so we
right.
can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of roughly estimate. But so at the time, this was the most expensive anime film ever made,
Okay,
um, and typically an anime film at this time would have between 60 and 90,000 hand drawn animation cells. And a Disney film at this time would have about 120 to 150,000 hand drawn animation cells.
okay.
This film had 160,000 hand
Oh,
drawn cells.
geez.
Um, and they used
Wow.
327 different colors, where a normal anime film is using 50 to 60. And
Geez,
it
like
was
okay.
presented in 24 frames per second and had proper lip syncing. So the dialogue was recorded and then animated to match the
Ah,
audio. Um,
right. Okay, so
where
it's
the
not just
standard,
random mouth moves
yeah, the standard
and
would be
yeah.
random mouth movements and 12 frames per second. Right.
Okay.
So this is a real like
Okay.
technological undertaking. There
Yeah.
are some questions of labor practices, but we're so
Okay.
far removed from the event. The film is out for
Yeah, yeah,
decades,
yeah.
and
It's
it's not
been a
for
few
us
decades. Yeah. Yeah.
to litigate that. But um, I definitely get that impression watching this film. Like this is
Right.
a kind of step beyond hand drawn animation as I'm used to.
Yeah.
There are things that they're doing with the backgrounds, with perspective, that aren't really
Yes, I
going
did
on in
notice there
standard
were a
stuff.
few sort of perspective shots where it was interesting. It was sort of like, I mean, I know that they use like the Disney often used the multi-plane camera or something like that. It sort of seemed like something like that, but it was different. It's like you know those shots where they I'm not 100% sure how they do it anymore, but they sort of zoom like a live action shot where they zoom in, but the camera's on a track or something like that. So you get this
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
dolly
weird
zoom or
background.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So you get this weird background effect. There were one or two sort of shots like that, which I sort of saw them and was quite interested by that.
yeah. And there were there was there were a few CGI shots when they're looking at the I think it's the brain waves of Tetsuo as compared to Akira. So that little animated thing is CGI, but they also use computers to like map out like lighting effects and
Right,
movement and kind of perspective. Uh, so there's stuff going on here technically that was not being done, was not standard practice at the time,
right.
and like I think we're both hinting at it. It really shows as a viewing experience because it's just a beautiful, beautiful film,
Yes, it
and
is.
still like holds up remarkably.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I kept having to check because I was like, was it 88? 1988. Wow.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I kept checking I'm like, yeah, okay, shit. Like I sort of thought it was the 90s. It sort of looked like it might have been 90s. But 88, yeah, that's quite impressive.
yeah. And I think for my next little preamble before we get into the film, I want to talk a little bit about the state of Japan in the 1980s. I mean, this is a very
Okay.
surface level understanding.
Yeah, sure, of course.
This is I like a bit of context. You know me, I like to context can help you understand things.
Of course, yeah.
If you're thinking of American sci-fi in the 50s, what were the things going on at the time? It was the Cold War and humanity's
Yeah.
first thinking about space. So everything is nuclear and everything's invaders from Mars, right? That's
Right, yes,
that's
yeah,
why all
yeah,
those
yeah.
stories are like that because people are
Right.
thinking about it. Um, so Japan in the 80s, there's a huge economic boom, enormous economic boom, and they call it an asset bubble. Um, and I think
Okay.
this is the time when those iconic Japanese brands are going overseas, right? So Sony
Right, yes,
has the
yeah.
Walkman, and then Nintendo is becoming huge, and
Okay, yeah.
car sales are like dominating the United States now. Um, and well, I guess the reason for that is you have the 1970s oil crises, and
Right.
what do Japanese cars offer? They're cheaper, they're more reliable, and they use less fuel, right? So
Yeah.
that's when they start to dominate the United States. But another consequence of those energy crises is Japan is kind of slowly moving more towards nuclear power. Um,
Okay, yes.
yes, because they have very little natural resources, kind of
Okay.
no storage capabilities. So nuclear expansion, right? So you have massive job creation for that in all these towns where the stations are being built, and now you have readily available energy that's really cheap, so manufacturing explodes. So it's this whole cyclical thing of the economy is exploding, but underlying that there's a
Yeah.
disillusionment with government policy and um, prices really, and it's with the youth. It's kind of what we have now in Europe. I think we
Right.
haven't spoken about this much, but for me, I feel like when am I ever going to get a chance to own a house? Like this doesn't feel attainable
Yeah.
for
No,
me,
exactly.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there are feelings like this going around at the time,
Right.
and I think all of this um, colors the film very much. And I think you're already starting to. I think I see a little bit the dots forming with scenes and,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
themes in
Yeah.
the film
Yeah.
and how this relates to
Yeah.
the situation at the time.
I mean, I also, I mean, the opening shot is of what, on your first viewing at least, appears to be a nuclear blast, right?
Yes, 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 yes,
Which
yes,
I'm sure also you say like, oh, they're heading towards nuclear power and everything, and I'm sure that even then, even by the 80s, in the Japanese subconscious, there must have still been the whole nuclear bombing thing present behind
yes,
everything. So I mean, that opening sequence where this is now in Tokyo and there's a nuclear
yes,
blast in Tokyo, I can imagine for a Japanese audience as well watching that, like, whoa, it's sort of quite shocking and quite sort of it sets the tone immediately for the rest of the film.
yeah. I mean that's a great moment now to jump straight into it, the film
Right. Yeah.
itself. So yeah, so for Akira, 1988, is directed by Katsuhiro Otomo. The film, like you said, opens in 1988 with an apparent nuclear
Yeah.
blast. We
Yeah.
later learn that it's not, but it looks like one. And like you said, to invoke that kind of imagery
Yes.
for a Japanese audience is very striking. I always try to pay attention when that comes up in a Japanese film.
Right.
And I think the big one is Godzilla in the 50s.
Okay.
Like
Oh
there
wow.
are yeah, there are scenes in, well, because he's a mutation who
Yes.
feeds on
Yes. Yeah.
nuclear
Yeah.
energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are scenes in that film, the original one, of like mothers cowering,
Oh,
in like a
crazy.
hillside
Yeah.
bunker, like shielding their
Right.
children. So it's very, like you
Yeah, and
say,
that
it's
would have
it's
still been
within the
very much in
cultural,
the yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the cultural consciousness, um,
Yeah.
and you're thinking about nuclear expansion in the 80s, right? And I
Yeah.
think for the ordinary person, um, I think this is post Chernobyl, I believe.
Yes. Yes. Chernobyl, I think, was 86. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So
Yeah.
post Chernobyl, and I think the general public still, even to this day, there's the nuclear, like, why did I think that? I was thinking of the N word, but let's not go there. but it is a bit
Okay.
like a taboo thing of like,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
people are frightened by it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, and
so
as a physicist, that really gets to me because
oh
I
my
mean,
god, yeah,
I think nuclear power is honestly one of the most incredible things that humanity has ever achieved. And yeah, there were a few, there were a few hiccups, but most of those hiccups were corrupt governments. It wasn't nuclear power that was the problem there. It was the Soviet Union. It was it was the United States.
yeah,
They were the problems. It's not nuclear power. But now suddenly, I mean, Germany in the last few years as
oh
well
my god, yeah,
also closed down all of their nuclear. And I mean, now you have in Germany something which I only learned about in the last few years is that nuclear power is seen as a conservative idea, which is completely strange to me. And not only that, the Green Party in Germany now
yes,
advocates for coal because they don't advocate for nuclear energy. So now you have the Green Party saying, no, let's burn more coal. I mean, I'm like, well, that just doesn't track, does it? But anyway,
yeah,
let's not pretend that I understand German politics. But
yeah.
that
I mean,
certainly got to me. Yeah.
anytime nuclear power comes up with certain people in my life, let's say, who don't like it, it's always
Yeah.
just, oh, but Chernobyl,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And like,
Oh,
how
but
many people
Chernobyl. Yeah.
died as a direct result of Chernobyl? It's like three or something. Like the number is
Right.
comically small
Yeah.
when you actually go and look at it. People think
Yeah.
like hundreds of thousands of, you know, tumorous
Yeah.
people walking around Ukraine or whatever. But like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like a handful of people who were there at the event
Exactly. Yeah.
who
And
died as
as
a
I said, I
result of
mean,
it. It's
the biggest problem with Chernobyl was that the Soviets didn't want to tell anyone about it. Whereas
yes,
even now, even with the whole war in Ukraine, it took them a couple days or a couple weeks or whatever. But eventually, both Ukraine and Russia were like, okay, bring in the International Atomic Energy Agency or whatever they're called. Bring them in and make sure that everything's okay with this bloody power plant and that it doesn't blow up. Even in the midst of what is, you know, this massive war, they're like, okay, let's handle this correctly this time. So
and
Yeah.
the Chernobyl power station safely produced power for like 30 years after the incident.
Oh, for real? I
because
didn't even know
because
that. Wow.
it was like one of five reactors or
One of a
something like
few.
that.
Yeah. No
Yeah,
ways.
so it's
Okay.
still,
Wow.
they enclosed it, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
didn't even know
still,
that. Wow.
yeah. But all that
Anyway.
aside, um, we've invoked nuclear imagery, and this
Yeah.
event triggers World War III in this world. And now we
Mm.
come forward to 2019, and Neo Tokyo is getting ready to host the Olympics, which I love because Tokyo did actually get the 2020 games.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because
So it actually
that
came
that kept
true.
confusing me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No ways. Okay.
Um, but we find ourselves with a young biker gang led by a
Yes.
young man called Kaneda. And immediately I want to bring up I have this little list that I have,
Okay.
right? In no particular order, right? My top five coolest sci-fi articles of clothing that I would like to own,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And um, I'll warn you that Back to the Future is not represented on this list, so you're gonna be very upset
But
by
what
that.
about the shoes,
I
man?
thought about the shoes, but I have I have obviously the Fourth Doctor's scarf from
Okay.
Doctor Who.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have Officer K's winter coat from Blade Runner 2049. You know that thing, he like has the
Okay.
collar like
Yes.
up to there.
Yes.
And
Yes. 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 Awesome.
um I have the cargo loader from Aliens, and I'm going to argue that that's a piece of clothing just
Yeah.
because I want it
Sure.
so bad.
I'll accept it. Absolutely.
I have Captain Picard's suede jacket that he gets in
Oh,
season
in
4.
Darmok, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
That jacket is beautiful.
And
Yes,
of course, I have Canada's red jacket with the pill on the back. It's
right.
such an iconic piece of design. And
Yeah.
I know it's animated, but my word,
No,
that thing
it
is
was cool.
sharp.
Yeah,
And yeah, with a pair of jeans.
yeah. With
Uh,
the sort of not quite skinny jeans, but sort of like quite slim bottom, and then this sort of
yeah.
like puffy ness.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I always get excited when I see that jacket in the opening.
Surely there are versions that you can get, real life versions.
Yeah, but you look at it and it's like
They don't quite
they're
hit.
cheap and kind of
Right.
homemade, and
Yeah.
yeah, they don't look so
Okay.
good. But
Okay. Right.
um, but yeah, so this gang is hanging out in this bar or whatever, and we find out that the clowns are around. Sorry, I need to sneeze.
Yeah, I mean, look, I must say as well, while we go through this movie, you're probably going to have to explain a few things to me because you'd think that after Primer, I would know how to keep track of movies, but there were a few things where I think you're probably going to have to walk me through it a little bit.
Right, sorry, as I just like struggle with a hay fever right there, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, so this is the real opening of the film, and it's this bike chase and kind of fight between Kaneda's gang with Tetsuo, who's also one of our main characters, and the
Mm,
clown gang. But this is just a wonderful piece of like scene setting and kind of exploring the world a little bit that we're in.
right.
Just with an action scene, and what an action scene it is. Um, Incredibly exciting and like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, um, and violent. I thought that also surprises me about
Yes.
this film. Whenever I come back to it, it is exceptionally violent.
Yes,
Um,
and sort of unapologetically. It's sort of like, oh, they
yeah,
just, oh, now he's dead. All right,
yeah.
Jesus, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, but we're also intercutting with this kind of chase. This other kind of foot chase where there's a child on the run. He's kind of confused, and a man is leading him away, and we understand immediately that this is like government forces who are coming to get
yeah,
this child, and in that there's there are protests on the street, so we understand that this is a an era of turmoil, and this is relating to the feelings that I was describing in 1980s Japan. Um, but yeah, so I don't think we see right away, but this child is a little bit freaky looking.
Yeah, no, well,
Yes.
I definitely wrote, "What the hell's wrong with this kid?" At that
Yes.
point, because I was like, "Oh, he looks weird. Something's wrong with him."
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like
But
all shriveled and wrinkled and stuff. So I wasn't sure,
yes.
like, is he supposed to be human? Is he an alien? Is he human and he's a mutant or something? So yeah, obviously I wasn't too sure
Yes.
at that stage.
At that stage. But yeah, we do learn more about that as we go. But the highway chase progresses, and they actually leave Neo Tokyo, like behind this big wall. That's
Okay, right,
I
yes.
guess is for protection from like environmental factors or whatever. But we're going to old Tokyo, and there's a little moment I love, where one of the bikers just goes off the wrong off ramp of the highway, and the guy's like,
Oh
"No,
yeah.
you fool!" And then he just explodes right away.
Oh, okay. I don't remember
It's just a little
that.
beat that I that I love. Um,
Nice.
yeah, but this is a little insight into Tetsuo's character, because he is the only one following. Right, everyone else like kind of given up on the chase. They don't want to leave Neo Tokyo, but he does, because he
Right.
this, as we understand from this, he has something to prove. Right, he doesn't have the cool bike. He's not the leader of the gang.
Right.
He's
Right. Yes.
following Kaneda, so he wants to prove something, and he um, at, at some point during the chase, he sees this freaky looking child in his headlights,
Yeah.
and no collision happens. His bike just explodes and he rolls off. Right. So Tetsuo's crashed, and his child is unharmed. And it's a weird moment already. So something's not right about how that happened. Um,
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, because you see, I'm still fuzzy about how Tetsuo then got his powers eventually. I mean, is it in this crash something happens and he gets powers transferred to him or something like that?
um, well, as I always understood it, the powers were latent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But they obviously get unlocked at some stage, right?
Yeah, maybe it is the crash. Maybe there is just some kind of blunt force
Because I was
thing.
sort of thinking like the child put up some sort of instinctive defense, right? Sort of like
Yeah,
a
well,
field of
that
energy or
is,
something.
yeah, that's definitely the implication, that he kind of puts
Right.
his hands
Okay.
up to defend himself. So that it is obviously kind of some kind
Right.
of force
Okay.
field or something.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think the suggestion is that the trauma of the crash unlocked something that was always there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the military arrives, and we're introduced to, I believe his name is Colonel Shikishima, but we can
Oh,
call him the
yo, jeez.
Colonel. We'll do the
I barely
Colonel.
remember Kaneda and Tetsuo. Yeah, it took me most of the movie to get that. So yeah.
The first time I watched this movie, I was thinking like, so which one is Akira? Where is he?
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely. I was like, when are we gonna meet this guy?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like in To Kill a Mockingbird. When are they gonna kill this bloody bird? You know?
God, yeah. Um, and um, so the military arrives, and they're taken back the freaky little boy, and there's another freaky little boy who's like floating around in a
Yeah.
magnet chair or whatever, and he's got a double breasted suit on. This
Yeah,
really
you see, I
dapper
wasn't
young
sure if he
man.
was actually supposed to be a boy or like I don't know, like because he looked so dapper and distinguished and everything.
No,
But like,
they are children, but it's the I believe it's more clear in the manga. I believe it's
okay,
all the testing um, that has kind of forced like a physiological reaction from them,
right,
so they
okay,
kind of age like this. But they are children,
okay,
and
right,
I think it's important to hold on to the idea that Tetsuo is a teenager. You know, he's not their
yes,
age, and
yes,
that's a
yeah,
big thing. Um, but the military also takes away Tetsuo. I think they detect something, or one of the kids says, you know, he needs to come with, or whatever it is.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So he's taken away from the gang, and you know, next day we're in the police station, and I love this little scene. I love the contrast of Kaneda, like this vicious bike leader, and then he's playing goody two shoes
Right, yeah,
in the police station. And this is when Kaneda notices Kei, because she's pretty. That's why he notices her,
Okay.
and he manages to get her out of there too, by claiming that she's part of the gang, whatever. And I
Oh,
just want
right.
to,
Yes. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yes. 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 Because you see, I was like, when did we meet this character? Because they're all animated. So, like, I don't know.
yeah.
But I think that's when I wrote down one of the lines that I liked. I think it was obviously here where he was like, "Oh no," and then we can go on a date. And talk about something that you're into, like the revolution or something. I love that. It's like, oh, what are you into? Oh, revolution. Yeah, cool, cool, babe.
He also has a quip where the police officer, he says, hey pops, can we take her as well? And he turns around and he's like,
Right.
who are you calling pops? And he says, I'm only 25. And
Oh
there's
yes,
no
yeah.
way that guy is 25. I know
I
it's
also,
animated or
yeah.
something. I
I
was
was
like,
like
he's
25.
middle
Shit.
aged at least,
Yeah.
surely.
I was like, yo, that World War III was rough, eh?
Yeah, yeah, he's a grizzled veteran at this point
Yeah.
at age 25. Yeah. Um, but Kay has no interest in playing Kaneda's games, and she whisks off. She recognizes someone, I believe it is. And
Yes, yeah.
now Tetsuo is in this like really cool sci-fi lab being tested
Mm,
out. Excuse me. And he's unconscious, but he's saying Akira, Akira, right? So
right.
um, I think this is the first mention in the film of Akira, and
Yeah,
just
because
a
he sort of
like,
keeps popping into his mind or something like that, eh?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just want to comment on like the design and stuff of this world. I love the big gadgets, the kind of the tactileness of all the devices, and
Right.
everything
I
has
also enjoyed
buttons
the
and
the printouts, of the data
yes.
that they. I loved that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool.
There's something great about a printout in a sci-fi film where it comes out
Yes.
slowly, and then the guy grabs it off, tears it off the
He's
machine,
like,
and like
look,
runs into the
yeah,
next room, and
exactly. Yeah, you can't
yeah,
do that with a flash drive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're waiting for the bar to load. It's like, nah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
not.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, the kids are at school, and school is like, it looks kind of hellish. I think it's a vocational school for like mechanics or
Mm,
something.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, um, at this point, Tetsuo has escaped from his ward, and uh,
Mm.
he steals Kaneda's bike. So more kind of notes on his character there about the jealousy. Um, and I must say, I would be
Yeah.
jealous as well, because that bike looks really cool.
It does look
Um,
really cool. Yeah. It's sort of got like an actual seat as well. You don't sit on it like a bike.
yes,
You
look,
sit on
yeah,
it like
comfortable. Yeah,
yeah. It's like a lazy boy chair.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he wants to start a fight with the clowns again.
Mm.
Um, and Kaneda comes, and shows up in the nick of time, um, to rescue him. And we get this line of like, "Why must you always come to save the day? Why must it always be you?" So more, I think it's very important. I think for, I guess, the themes of the film, to understand that this is a fragile, jealous,
Yeah.
petty, insecure little boy, effectively.
Yes, because I sort of felt that Kaneda was actually being quite loyal. He was always showing up for Tetsuo. He was always like
Yes.
actually caring for him, actually coming and like making sure that he was there. He wasn't just some random guy that was overlooked. He was actually sort of, he'd been taken under Kaneda's wing and was Kaneda was trying to sort of protect him and groom him into a full-fledged leader of the gang or whatever. But obviously, from Tetsuo's perspective, it didn't really feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. From his perspective, like you say, would have been
Mm.
belittling,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
embarrassing in a way.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so kind of then the rest of the gang show up, to stop the clowns, who are. It's getting very close to uncomfortable territory with Tetsuo's young girlfriend.
Oh, right.
But I think so. Tetsuo has this kind of fit of rage, and uh, it starts to it appears that he's kind of causing damage to the street or whatever, and but he's hallucinating, and there's a really like disturbing image of all of his guts spilling out while he's hunched
Yeah,
over. Do you
yeah,
remember that? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, I do. I was like, wait, because he was hallucinating one thing, and then it seemed like he snapped out of it, and then his guts spilled out. So I was
Yeah,
like, oh Jesus, so this is now real, But that was a second hallucination. So yeah, it was quite sort of like, whoa.
yeah. So all of this is pointing to this growing instability of Tetsuo, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now it's nighttime. The gang is hanging out and talking or whatever, and um, I think this is when we're first introduced to like this kind of cult, I suppose, that worships Akira or like is calling for the second coming of Akira. It's all playing a little bit in the background
Right,
of this.
right.
It's a little kind of like world texture, I suppose.
Okay, yeah, because you see, that sort of confused me because I mean, obviously Tetsuo and Kaneda and all the main characters, sort of had no idea who Akira was, right? They'd
Yeah.
never heard of him. But then, so you're obviously saying there's a sort of fringe group of people or something who do know
Yes.
about him. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think this has to do with the guy who kind of looks a little bit like a rat. He's got the big teeth and stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's connected with the underground resistance, but he's also on the Supreme Executive Council, right?
Okay,
So there is a channel of information that is leaving, um, the
okay.
military and the higher echelons of
Yeah,
government.
yeah, yeah,
So that's how like whispers of Akira is getting out there, and of course, as we know, information is changed, diluted, and messed with as it travels. So
yeah.
yeah, so there is this a kind of like I said before, this kind of end stage feeling, right?
Yes, yes.
We're at the end of the cycle. Everything's decayed. Everything looks
Yeah,
great. We got these big, massive buildings, but everyone is miserable, and begging for something to come and save us.
yeah.
But it's at this point that Kaneda notices Kay. I believe that's how it works, and um, she's on the run, and he jumps into it's an aqueduct and saves her and kill some soldiers or whatever it is.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Um,
Okay.
and then we have uh, this is when you have the readout. So the espers. That's what we. I think that's what they're always called. Whenever I was doing like research or whatever about this film, everything was saying espers, right? So ESPers.
Oh, yes, yes, I
Yes.
did read about that as well. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So this is where your printouts come in, right? So the doctor sees that the kids, the espers, are dreaming, and the colonel goes to talk to the girl one. I'm gonna
Ah,
pull this out of the hat. I think her name is Kyoko. Um,
yes, yes, that sounds right.
oh,
Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
yeah. Nice. Yeah.
And her dreams portend doom, right? So there's like this
Right.
cloud of darkness is coming for Neo Tokyo, or whatever, and then it's clear that this is something that they have to take seriously, right?
Mm.
It's not just an ordinary dream. This means something. So the colonel, um, and the scientist guy, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Professor Calculus. I think so. He looks like him. I kept being like, no, this is Professor Calculus. I mean, he's like the Japanese Professor Calculus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the grand tradition of kooky science characters with crazy hair
Yeah,
and stuff,
exactly. He's the same
he's in
character.
there.
He's just now in this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they go like deep underground, and I love the kind of the elevator and the massive elevator, and they're going to see Akira. Right, this is
Right.
our first glimpse of Akira, or some kind of glimpse of Akira, and they're deep down. It's incredibly cold, and they have to like turn on all the circuits again, and everything's
Yeah.
firing up, um, and doors opening. I love the animation of the ice snapping off the hinges and things like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Akira, at this point, we understand, is in this dome structure, contained inside.
Right.
And the colonel delivers this monologue about, it's he relates Akira to Pandora's box. Um, and so they open Pandora's box, and this is when it's revealed that Akira was actually the cause of that blast in
Right. Yeah.
1988. And I love the. It's very simple to invoke Pandora's box, but it's a great kind of way to um, key you in on,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a
this is
shorthand,
the
and yeah.
yeah, this is like, I'm gonna hit the Jurassic Park button again, but messing
Yeah.
with things that you shouldn't mess with, right?
Exactly. Yeah. 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 It's
Um,
like this has been locked away for a reason. What the hell are you doing here again? Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just reorganizing my brain here.
Yeah, and well,
Oh,
look, let me say, I definitely need to watch this again because, there were a few things that I sort of didn't quite get on watching. I'm obviously trying to sort of concentrate on the whole anime thing and also like pick up on like meanings of things and everything. But they're obviously just from you talking through the film, I'm like, oh, I missed that. Like there are certain things where I'm like, oh, I didn't quite get that, but like now makes sense. Now sort of starts knitting things together for me. So yeah, I'll definitely give it a
yeah,
rewatch at some stage.
yeah. I mean, that's the fun of rewatching, is when you like
Mm.
broadly understand what happens, then you
Yes,
can really
exactly.
focus on like, how do we get there?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And um, yeah, it'll be interesting to get a reaction from you when you do that. But
Yeah, and I think the second watch I'll try and do as much as possible, at least in Japanese.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
just for
Agreed.
the music as
Just
well.
for the music, yeah. I mean, just to speak on the music, this is, I think um, this is the moment I was thinking of earlier. This is an
Mm.
amazing bit where he's just speaking. The colonel is just speaking, and then there's just a massive hit on the percussion of just
Oh,
boom
okay.
right in the music, and it's
Right,
so out of nowhere, and it's such an incredible.
right.
It's jarring, and it's supposed to be jarring, but it's also this incredible like punctuation, I guess, for
Yeah.
um, yeah, the gravitas of what he's talking about, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's a moment to look out for you on rewatch,
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
But an
Yeah. I mean,
incredible moment of music.
there were also a few scenes where I sort of there were a few scenes where I watched it in English and then went back and watched the same thing in
Right.
Japanese,
Yeah.
and the music definitely gives a different tone to the same scene just because it's louder, and like you get stuff like that, like the sudden crescendo, or something, which makes you feel slightly differently about the scene watching it
Yeah.
with that music. So yeah, I think if anything, this movie was an education for me as to, because I was always like, okay, what's the big deal about watching it in Japanese? Like, surely the English voice actors also put in a lot of effort, but like obviously, it's the original medium, and it's the way that it's sort of meant to be viewed, right?
Yeah, and
So
that's always the argument, is that this is the original intention
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
everything. And
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, like I'm a Japanese. The debate is always sub or dub, so subtitles or English dub,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
team sub. But I do have my guilty pleasures of English Dragon Ball. But
Well,
yeah,
exactly. You see, the dub definitely had me thinking about Dragon Ball and stuff like that, because it's sort of, I don't know, it's exact same voices as like they would use in Dragon Ball and stuff like
right. I
that.
mean, there's probably a very small pool of people
Yeah.
doing this
No,
work,
I'm
and
sure. I'm sure. So it just sort of, it felt more generic when it was in English. As soon as
right.
it's in Japanese, it sort of felt a little bit more like a work of art, I suppose.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so that's our introduction to Akira.
Mm.
And next up, we have Canada is being introduced to the underground world, and I love the moment when it's Ryu, who's the kind of underground boss, this resistance movement.
Okay. Right.
Who, when Kay brings Canada, he's like, "Who's this guy?" And then Canada says, "Well, it's too early to say I'm a boyfriend, but we're
Oh,
taking things slow." And they've had two conversations.
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Um,
yeah, he was certainly confident with her.
yeah. Um, And all the while, through this, there's a meeting with the Supreme Executive Council, so we get a little insight into the politicking and I guess the influence of the colonel and the military, which is something that I think this film asks us about. The military's place in all this, in science, in
Yeah.
politics,
Yeah.
in and how much control they should have over things.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there are riots in the streets. There's civil unrest, and this is all tying back together into this feeling of decay and end stage.
Yeah. Yeah. People definitely not happy with the way that things are.
No, not at all. And almost like I said, they're begging for Akira to come and
Yeah.
liberate them. Um, and now we have a rescue mission where with the resistance movement they're coming in to I believe the intention is to get Tetsuo, but I'm not sure. Maybe
Yes.
they're going to get Akira. But so they're breaking in and
Yeah.
they've
I
kind of
think
got
it was
workers'
probably
uniforms
Tetsuo.
and
That's sort of what I
yeah,
thought. Yeah.
they've got their workers' uniforms and they're going in and they're going through the sewers, and we're cutting between this and Tetsuo, and he sees this is one of the big for me a big showpiece scene of the film is when he has the teddy bear nightmare. I guess if you would call it
Where
a
they
nightmare.
crawl up onto the bed.
They crawl up onto the bed and
So,
then
so I must say, I absolutely lost it when that first happened. I thought it was the funniest shit I've ever seen. I mean, obviously, the rest of the scene gets like intense and like weird and everything.
yes,
But that
yeah, yeah.
first moment where he looks over and he sees this teddy bear, I had to pause and like laugh for like 5 minutes because I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
But yeah, so we have that, but then he hallucinates this giant teddy bear made of like
Yeah,
junk and debris from the room, and then it gets like real kind of nightmarish. The walls start tearing apart and everything.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. I mean, that's why it started with a scene which had me in hysterics, and then I was like,
yeah,
"Whoa, geez, what happened to this little teddy bear?" You know?
um, but as he kind of pushes back against it, he realizes that this is not in his mind. Well, it is in his mind, but it's being put there. It's being manipulated, controlled by
Yeah,
the other kids, the other espers in this institution. And so while the resistance is fighting the guys with the speeder bikes from Star Wars,
yeah,
which I love, just a great action scene,
right.
kind of in the sewer system, Tetsuo is breaking out and he's making his way towards the kids. And this is I'm bringing back up like the violence point. This is really, really
Right.
violent
Yes.
and people being crushed and blown apart, and
Yes. Is that
there's just
also the
blood
scene
and
where I think it's Kay is the girl, right?
yeah.
Is that the scene where she shoots the guy in the face?
No,
I'm
that
not
that
sure
was in
if.
the. That's when Canada rescues her, like in the
Oh,
aqueduct
is that
earlier.
that earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay.
Um,
But yeah. 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 Anyway, carry on with the violence and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so the film is not shying away at all
Mm.
from how like raw and untamed and like scary this power is that Tetsuo
Yeah.
has, and um, I was talking about his character, and I think there's a big argument of like the maturity of humanity to deal with grand things like this, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Yes.
um, so telekinetic powers, telepathic powers or whatever. It's if it were real in science or whatever, it would be an incredible frontier, um,
Yeah.
and putting in the hands of an insecure little boy, right? We see
Yeah.
how like terrifying and messed up that is. So I think
Well.
there is
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
there's an argument for um, you know, humanity is being immature to deal with uh, grand, powerful things. And this is where you can tie back into kind of nuclear anxiety,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
I definitely thought that it was, whether it's intentional or not, it was definitely a metaphor for nuclear power. I definitely sort of, because we'd seen this power shown to us as if it was a nuclear blast at the beginning of the film,
Yes,
and now we're
exactly.
seeing someone mishandle it. So I definitely thought that there was a strong metaphor for it being the human race essentially being like a teenager with with these sudden superpowers.
Yes.
We are now the human race with these nuclear bombs and stuff. I definitely thought that there was some sort of link there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Tetsuo is wreaking havoc through this institution, through the corridors, um, because he's going to find the other kids, the Espers, and he tells them like, "You mess with my mind, I'm going to kill you."
Mm,
And as he does, the resistance, comes into the room, and the colonel's there. So everyone's kind of met up at this point, um, and uh, yeah, Tetsuo escapes, but this is when like everyone understands like this guy's out of control.
yeah.
He's too far gone, and even the kids are like, we're gonna have to do something about this among ourselves. And um, yeah, so I think this is where it's established that Tetsuo is already too old to control his new powers.
Ah,
Right.
okay.
This is why the kids are kind of stable and everything. So
Okay.
his powers just developed too late, right? So
Okay.
that's why him being a teenager, he kind of goes off the rails like this. And I think um, there's something to be said there for I guess loss of innocence, right? So how the
Right.
children
Yes.
are innocent and pure, right? And they can be controlled and handled and everything, and they in turn can safely use the powers. But uh, this young man who's exposed to the horrors of the world, the harsh realities of life in Neo Tokyo, he can't
Right.
cope with it. Yeah, so there is a link to be made there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure I fully like tied it together, but I think it's an interesting thread to pull on um,
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
think about this film. Yeah, um, just reorienting myself. Yeah, so Tetsuo is out and loose, and he is going back to his old haunts, meeting up with the old friends, and they're like just horrified by him. Like this is a
Yeah.
completely like new monster, I guess. Um, and I guess the rest of the film kind of uh, blends together, melts together. I guess we can kind of squash it all into one
Right.
big discussion because Tetsuo's on the loose. He's in the streets. It's all
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
Um, people are protesting. There are explosions happening, and he's making his way to
Right.
the Olympic Stadium, right, for the
Yes.
big showdown with everyone. And in the protest, we see this woman or this figure with small sunglasses, big hair. It's like an old person who's like this leader of this Akira cult. And just as an aside, like this is the stuff that's really fleshed out in the manga, right?
Okay.
All these
Oh,
different
what
factions.
the cult and all
Yeah,
of that. Okay.
and a big thing in the manga is that there's a once Akira is reawoken, his body reforms, and Neo Tokyo is destroyed, much like Tokyo. And there's like a new world order, like where it's ruled by Akira in the city, and like Tetsuo is like his main lieutenant, and he has like a harem of sex slaves and
Oh
everything. And
wow.
so
Okay.
there's this whole thing that's going on after, right? But for the film, right, there's a showdown at the Olympic Stadium, which is built atop Akira's prison. I guess you would call it a prison.
Right.
Um, so uh, Tetsuo is there to reawaken Akira, and he brings him out.
Mm.
And uh, when he does, Akira is not a boy, a child, a person, or anything. He is a collection of organs and body parts
Yeah.
that are being kept alive for study, and it's like a really, I don't know. I always find that like so uncomfortable
Yeah.
and gross, and what like a kind of indictment on um, yeah, I guess like unchecked power, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
something really upsetting about that
No, there
that
is,
idea.
because it's sort of like, oh, there's this amazing thing that's, this kid that's got all this amazing power and everything. Oh, let's rip it to shreds and figure out
Exactly.
what it is and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is sort of, I suppose it's dystopian, right? It's sort of
Yes. Yeah.
it's horrific. It's sort of like, okay, yeah, you've gone and unlocked this potential, and what do the rest of the ordinary people do? They just take it apart.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, and Kaneda is there to stop Tetsuo, and he has this awesome laser weapon. Uh, I don't know if you enjoyed that,
Yeah,
but I love
I
it. I love
did.
a
I
good
did. I loved
sci-fi
it. I
weapon.
loved it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was
Um,
wicked. Yeah.
but once he's attacked, Tetsuo's power is like completely spiraling out of control, right? And
Mm.
he can't control it himself. He can't wield it in any recognizable way. And oh yeah, another shout out to another great sci-fi weapon, Soul, which is the kind of
Oh yeah, the
satellite
orbital
laser.
strike thing. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I love that as well. Yeah, no.
yeah,
Especially sort of the way that it starts. He's like, "What's this light?" And he like looks
yes,
around,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
yeah.
these like little flecks of light or whatever, and then suddenly it's just like massive beam of energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a point of view shot, I guess, from Tetsuo when
Uh-huh.
Kaneda fires a laser weapon once, and what I like is that he just sees like this little flash in the distance. It's not a solid beam that's like connecting
Ah,
them, right?
yeah,
Like a real
yeah.
laser wepen would be,
Would be, yeah.
you
Okay,
know,
I
if
didn't
there's
notice that. That's
you
quite
know,
interesting.
unless there's dust between them, then it would bounce off.
Yes,
The light would
yes,
bounce
yeah,
off. But
yeah.
yeah, um,
Okay,
love a little
that's
bit of
interesting. I will look.
accuracy
I will
there.
look for that the next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nice.
Um, So yeah, his power is spiraling out of control, and um, his arm has become this massive, like uh, like I don't even
Yeah.
know how to describe. I'm struggling to describe it.
Grotesque. Yeah.
This is yeah, grotesque is good. Like this
Yeah.
mass of like writhing flesh and
Yeah.
technology um,
Yeah.
that's just like kind of exploding out of him, um, and yeah, I mean that's that feeling. I guess is what my arm felt like when I got the COVID jab for a day, and I was like, "Wow, what is this?"
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. It's just these tentacles and
yes,
uncontrollable
but
technology writhing through
yeah,
you.
it's a such a when I'm talking about just the audio visual experience of this film, this is a
Yeah.
incredible like visceral sequence of just like pure body horror, right? Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, what skipping ahead a little bit, like when the rest of his body becomes that, and he becomes this huge mass of
yes,
flesh
yeah.
and technology or whatever. Just to be extremely South African, I wrote in my notes, "Ach no, cis man," because I was like,
It's
cis.
gross,
This
yeah.
is, it's just that's the best way I could describe it. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm sorry, I know that won't make sense to the international audience, but ach no,
Yeah.
cis.
Um, and like thematically, I think there are a couple things that are at play here that are being expressed here.
Mm,
So I've got them written down here. So number one, this is power expanding and growing faster than you can handle, right?
right. Yes.
So not having checks on power, right? That's an idea that's at play here. Another idea is that technology and biology are in a way fundamentally incompatible, right? So
Right.
humanity is not meant to like meld with technology in such a deep way. This is an idea from the 80s, by the way. I mean, think about now.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And a third idea is simply loss of identity.
Yes.
In this world, in this environment of massive power
Yeah.
and I guess like government control or
Yeah,
whatever it
I mean,
is.
there was even that line earlier in the film which I loved, where he was like, Tetsuo. Wait, are you Tetsuo or are you something else?
Yeah,
I really love that, because that's sort of the first moment, like, oh yeah, because up until then I was like, I thought this was like one of their friends. Like, why is he being such an asshole and everything? And then like that was the sort of like, are you still Tetsuo? Like, or has Tetsuo left the building and like this is just some
yeah.
other thing. So yeah, absolutely the sort of loss of identity, because by that stage I don't think he was Tetsuo anymore. He was
No, no,
you
of
sort
course
of
not.
got
No.
you got glimpses of it, where especially when he was this massive stuff, and whatever, and then he sort of looked at Kaneda at some stage like, Kaneda, help me. They suddenly, like, he's shining through again. It's like, oh, he's still there,
Yeah,
but like most of the time, the rest of the time it's not actually him.
yeah, and yeah. So as he becomes this like writhing mass of flesh and rubble and technology,
Yeah,
um, at some point I always get lost on like the mechanics or everything, but
yeah.
I believe it's a singularity is created,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
Kaneda and Kay are drawn into it, and this is the kind of flashback stuff, right? So we got to see them at,
Right.
I guess it's an orphanage, and how Kaneda
Yeah.
and Tetsuo met, and their first meeting is Kaneda saving him from bullies, right? Like how is that? That's so wonderfully tied together of
Right.
this of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
characters, um, and the kids decide that the only way to put an end to this is for them to enter the singularity, rescue the people there, and close it from the inside with their abilities, right? So that's what happens. Uh, and the film ends with this little ball of light that uh, kind of catches in his hands, and Tetsuo, we hear his voice, I am Tetsuo, or, in
Yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Right. Yeah. And we get a sort of
implying that he's created a new universe. He's transcended
right.
to
Yes.
a higher plane of existence, something like that. There's a new
Yeah.
universe that he's created and that he can live in.
I definitely. I mean, I wrote down in my notes "Beyond the Infinite" because it sort of
Yeah,
reminded me of "Beyond the Infinite" from 2001. The sort of, you get this sort of sci-fi time vortex sort of thing, and then
yeah,
suddenly he's sort of like reborn. I was like, oh, that's kind of the same thing.
yeah. Um, so I mean, that's the run through of the plot of the film, and I guess we've touched on some thematic things, but I just want to like point out that you know sci-fi films like this, so like we could go on for hours talking about sci-fi
Yeah.
stories and films or whatever
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
warn against um like using stuff that you don't understand properly,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like experimenting with immense power or whatever. um but this film does that, right? But
Yes.
it actually opens with it. Like the first thing is that
Right.
experimenting with power, boom, World War III. That's the opening of the
Right.
film, right? So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I just
Yeah. Interesting.
so everything that we've watched, everything is colored by the fact that uh, this messing with things that you shouldn't mess with. This has already happened. This is
Right.
why things are in such a state right now. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you think about Japan in the '80s, you can maybe stretch that thought back
Mm.
to the atomic bombings, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you
And
can draw a
everything
link
was
there.
probably, it was all getting really sort of technological at that stage. That's when,
Yeah,
as you say, all the iconic Japanese companies were starting. So obviously a lot of technology taking over, and there was probably sort of a little bit of an awareness or a worry about not sort of understanding things, I suppose.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, suppose we can get into final thoughts.
Mm,
So I'll start as always.
cool.
Yeah, so for me, just one of the greats, great movie, masterpiece of kind of moment to moment watchability. As I said, it's as an audiovisual experience, you're not going to get much better than this. Um, and still, um, on a fourth viewing, it's rewarding, it's thematically rich, it's fun, it's exciting, it's kind of everything. It's kind of everything I want out of a movie. I love
Right.
I love a movie that provokes you to think and doesn't have easy answers. It doesn't. It's not closed. You're thinking about it afterwards. You're having conversations about it afterwards, but it's still fun.
Right.
It's exciting. There are good characters.
Yes.
There are action scenes, right?
Right. Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think
There's a
all of
there's a
that
good
is
mix of everything. It's not just
yes,
action. It's not just conversation. Yeah.
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 So it's a piece of high art, and it's an amazing piece of entertainment.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. So for me, that's where I'm at with Akira. Um, and for you, so yeah, your first time, mixed feelings, but
Well, I mean, mixed feelings is perhaps a bit too harsh. I mean, I think it's just I'm not an anime fan, so it was just it's an unusual experience for me. I'm not used to watching anime, but I mean, I think by the end of the movie, it was sort of growing on me, right? So for the first like maybe third of the movie, I was like, okay, I can take it or leave it. Like I wasn't hating it at any point, right? I wasn't like watching it and like thinking that it was terrible or anything. It was just sort of it took a while for me to really get into it. Um, but I'm sure we'll probably do a few more animes in the future
oh yeah,
from time to time, and I'll
believe me,
definitely
I've
try
got
and.
I've got some in the pipeline that I want to try
Okay,
push.
cool, cool, cool. Yeah. So I mean, I'm expecting to. I'll probably start sort of getting into it and appreciating it for what it is as time goes by. But yeah, then I mean, for my best and worst science moments
Yes,
as
I
well,
was I was gonna I
because
was gonna cue you up for this.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, for a while in the movie, I was wondering, I was like, oh, I might struggle to sort of come up with something here, but I mean, I think my worst science moment it was as soon as they mentioned something like no, this power's been with him the whole time. That reminded me of the classic sort of thing where people say no, we only use 10% of our brains,
Oh,
right?
Limitless.
Which yes,
Yeah.
Limitless, I was going to bring it up. I absolutely despise that movie because I mean, this is from a quote which is attributed to Albert Einstein. Now whenever you have a quote from Albert Einstein, I'm not sure if it's actually from him or not because so many quotes are just like, yeah, Albert Einstein said it. But the original quote is people only use 10% of their mental capacity or mental potential. So, and then suddenly someone was like, oh, that means there's 90% of our brain's abilities that we're not actually using. But
Yeah.
what he meant by that is that we all have a certain cognitive ability and most of us squander it, right? We're only using 10% of our potential. Doesn't mean that there's this unlocked sort of capacity in our brain because, I mean, in reality, we obviously use 100% of our brain,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like even when you're asleep, your brain is using 100% of its power. It's just doing other stuff. So obviously you can suspend belief and it's telekinesis and whatever. Obviously you have to sort of say, okay, there's this, you have to believe in that part, right? That there's this unlocked potential in every person or whatever. But it did remind me of that where I'm like, oh, this is going dangerously close to the whole Lucy thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the name of the movie, Lucy. Yeah. That I was thinking of because Limitless is the one with the drug that he takes,
Yeah. The
right?
pill. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that movie's not so bad. I mean, it's still based on nonsense, but not so bad. But Lucy is the one that I'm thinking of with
That's the one where she like
Scarlett
transcends
Johansson.
at the end or something.
Exactly.
And
That
becomes
movie is
yeah.
a
Yeah.
load of crap. Jesus Christ. So that's probably got to be my worst science moment. But
Yeah. Join us next week for our episode on Lucy. By the way.
yeah.
No. No. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
geez,
your best
3
science
hour long
moment.
rant. Yeah.
I'll take a back seat on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Geez. Yeah, then the best science moment, which when I was still thinking of it, this was probably going to be my original worst science moment because
Okay.
I was looking at this and something that was pissing me off the whole movie, which pisses me off in a lot of movies, is the use of the term energy. right? People always say, "Oh, there's this energy. He's got this energy that he's got, or whatever." And I'm like, okay, energy is not just a vague term that you can throw around. It means, it means something very specific, an ability to do work, right? That
Yeah.
capacity to do work. That's what energy is. It's not just, you can't just say energy when you mean something undefined, right? So that was getting to me. That's a common problem in many science fiction films, in all kinds of films where they just talk about this energy that someone has. But then towards the end, you spoke about like a singularity. I hadn't quite thought of it like that. I suppose you could think of it as a singularity, because something that Professor Calculus, I'm going to call him, um, something that he said something like, he mentioned it's definitely a proton collapse. Now that was a trigger word for me, because I was like, whoa, proton collapse. So
You can
there's
really latch onto
various
that.
Exactly. There's various theories or sort of predictions that protons should decay. All right. So, like, given a trillion years or whatever, protons will eventually, because, a proton is not a single particle, it's made up of a whole lot of quarks and gluons and all sorts of stuff. And so, there's sort of theories that given enough time, protons will actually disintegrate and become other stuff. And most of the mass of a proton is actually energy, right? E equals mc squared, that whole thing. So when he started, because the whole movie, I was thinking, okay, they're talking about energy, but energy, the most famous thing that everyone should know about energy is that it cannot be created or destroyed. So where the hell is Tetsuo getting all this energy from? You can't just say, oh no, it's in his brain, it's in his body. It's like, you can't. That's not a thing, right? In terms of physics. But if he's making protons collapse, if he's making protons decay, that means he's ripping apart matter at the basest, the most fundamental level. He's ripping it apart and releasing. I mean, suddenly atomic power is nothing, right? That's nothing. What you're going to get when you start ripping a proton apart, there you are dealing with the fundamental forces of the universe. And then, they said something like, oh no, there's a new universe being created. So that got me thinking, is whether they've intended this or not. I think that all of this power that Tetsuo had was from essentially ripping protons apart. He was ripping apart the fundamental forces behind reality. And the only time that happened in the history of our universe is right after the Big Bang. So when you rip apart all of the forces in nature, you get back to the Big Bang, and you can now create a universe. So suddenly, from
It all kind of
me
clicks.
exactly, suddenly from me worrying, I'm like, how can you just talk about energy? And suddenly, it all suddenly came together, and I was like, hey, I wonder if they thought about this, because this is quite cool. Like, if he's ripping apart protons, then yeah, he could theoretically, I suppose, if you stretch it a little bit, create a new universe, because he's dealing with the most fundamental forces of nature. So yeah, I haven't thought about that too much. I haven't done too much research on it, but that's I sort of got that into my head about half an hour before we started recording, and I was like, hey, okay, that's my best science moment for sure. Yeah,
It's a lovely piece of uh, like backwards like logic and jury rigging it
exactly.
all
Yeah.
together.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Exactly. I've got to make it make sense somehow, right? Because
Yeah,
like, sure,
we
you can
got
say,
magic
oh,
powers here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're gonna use physics to make it make sense based on one word that was said later on.
Exactly,
Fantastic.
because obviously,
That's brilliant.
it's anyone can say, "Oh no," but physics doesn't apply. That's his power. Is he
Yeah,
just suspends physics? But it's far more fun if you can get physics to apply, right?
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so that was that for Akira, I believe.
Mm.
Unless you have any other final thoughts about
No,
it.
I mean, I think I will definitely give it a rewatch.
Great.
I think I think it was a good entry point for
Yeah.
anime. I'm keen to see where it goes from here.
No, I'm not gonna like overwhelm you, but
No, but I'm sure we will do a few from time to time. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say one name, and I'm gonna put my neck out there that you'll actually love Cowboy
Okay.
Bebop, right?
Okay, I've definitely heard of that one.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
risk that one, right?
All right.
And
Cool.
that's a total cyberpunk classic.
Okay,
That's a
nice.
series, by the way. So,
All
um,
right,
but to
cool,
figure out if we can do that in the future. But
nice.
yeah, so that was Akira from 1988, of course. And uh, thank you as always for listening, watching, wherever you are. Like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, do what you have to do. It helps us grow.
Leave some hateful comments. We love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love to get into an argument if you
Hmm.
disagree with anything. Um, so yeah, and of course we'll be back next week to discuss the first two episodes of the new season of For All Mankind. Um, One of our like joint favorite
Mm,
shows that's currently going. It's been a while.
yeah,
Very excited to get back into that.
absolutely.
So yeah, join us for that episode. We'll see you then. And as always, live long and prosper.